More Heart Than Talent Radio.
President and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. A beautiful October afternoon, Tuesday, October 8th, 2019, Facebook Live, More Heart Than Talent. As I've stated before, this call originates back in 1998. It actually was a phone call in 1998, and now it is a Facebook Live. For over 1 year, I moved this call from this live. It used to be a call. I moved it from 7:30 Pacific Standard, 10:30 Eastern to a live format. I condensed it down from 1 hour to half an hour, and this is also available on Pod-O-Matic. So this call is definitely recorded. Right here is the microphone, so this call will be available for you tomorrow morning for replay. You can also pass this call on to your teammates or your friends, associates in your circle of influence. So for 21 years, going on 22 years, I've been suiting up and showing up on Facebook Live here. Mike McDaniel, good to see you. I'll be calling you right after this call, or right after this live. If you are brand new to this Facebook Live, welcome to the live. My name is Jeffery Combs. I'm the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated, a self-improvement personal development company. I'm an author of 5 books, and I specialize in the skill of letting go. I also specialize in sales, branding, marketing, creating a culture, developing following, content writing, and a whole array of topics and subjects specifically on addictions in the process of letting go. Now, today's Facebook Live is one of my favorite subjects. It's called Money and You. And if you have challenges with money, it's definitely challenges about asking, deserving, and receiving. I'm going to cover some content that will allow you to have a better understanding of how to ask for what you deserve, the selling cycle, how to create money in free enterprise, how to raise your value ladder so that you start to scale your value up, that you are valuable. You don't raise your prices, you continually raise your value. What is an hour of your time worth? I've been a success coach, mentor, influencer for the last 21 plus years. Prior to that, I was a small business owner owning a series of businesses that I rode the emotional roller coaster. My career really started to flatten out in 1995 and 1996 as I went from struggling entrepreneur to a very, very stable, successful business owner. And that was in 95 to 6, I crossed that bridge, 96, 7, and 8. In 98, I started my seminar company. I've been a 7-figure income earner in 2 different businesses. I've also had challenges in multiple businesses starting as a teenager. Today, I'm a real estate investor. I'm also own my own business and have many, many assets that I created by starting to change my dialogue with money. Now, for me personally, I grew up with a healthy dialogue with money. I didn't grow up in a household where there was a lot of struggle and money was not a major obstacle or challenge. My parents were white-collar professionals. My mother was a teacher with 2 masters. My father had 1 master's degree. He was also a high school coach, also did construction, and my parents were hustlers. They sold real estate, sold antiques. My father bred field champion bird dogs. And so there was a flow of money in my household. So I did not hear that we can't afford it as much as most of society. My parents weren't frugal. They weren't wealthy, but there just wasn't, the money talk was not unhealthy. My grandfather on one side was a millionaire. His money talk was not unhealthy. But one side of my family, their money talk was poverty. They came from lack, poverty consciousness. They were always talking about what they didn't have. They were noble strugglers. So that whole side of my father's family, that was a dichotomy. So I had one grandfather that was a millionaire and one grandfather that was a sharecropper. And my grandfather that was a sharecropper died dead broke. My parents paid for their funerals. So that's a little bit about my family histories with money. You want to start to understand your family's history with money. Was it lack? Was it poverty consciousness? Was it struggle? Was it strife? What was the communication around money like? Was money scarce? Did you have to give your money to your parents? Did you wait tables? Did you bartend? Did you babysit? Did you mow lawns? Did you have a paper route? And if you did you get to keep your money, or did your money go to support your family? Now, there's a distinction in that, because if that happened to you, there's also a possibility that that kind of conditioned behavior, which may have robbed you of your innocence, could have had an impact on your dialogue with money. By the time you're 18, you have had 20,000 meals with people in your influence. So oftentimes you can say 20,000 meals with the wrong financial planners. However, that's not a black and white equation, because just like I told you, my parents' dialogue with money was not horrible. It was relatively good compared to most of society. My parents fixed and flipped houses. We moved to a few different houses. I watched them create profit. My father also collected antique cars and had other ways that he created money. So you want to understand, how is your dialogue with money today? So if you're 35 years old, 45, 55, and you have no assets, and you're one of the many people that tell me, I'd really like to hire you, but, now I hear it every weekend when I speak. I also hear it when I do 20-minute calls. I'd really like to hire you, but. Now, if you have to keep saying that, then your dialogue with money unequivocally requires an overhaul. And if you have more liabilities than you have assets, once again, you require to have a better understanding of your dialogue with money. If you've taken your home and taken a second on your home to pay off your credit cards or other debts, all you did was just move your debt around. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. For you to be free of debt, or to be free of liability debt, because there is debt that you can be used as an asset. So asset debt is completely different than liability debt. If you continue to live in liability debt and you're paying interest on money that doesn't exist. Now, last night's call on Facebook, I went off a little live. So if you want to watch that call, that Facebook Live I did last night, I covered the agenda, the world order, the Illuminati, the banking industry, the Rothschild banking industry. So to really understand some of that content, you'd want to come to one of my private events, where I really focus on assisting you to really understand how money is an illusion, and so much of money that is created is all FICA money. The Federal Reserve, which is not run by any federal agency, they make their own rules. It's a cartel of families that create the banking rules of the world. They operate off a 9-1 principle. For every $1 million worth of assets, they create 9. So that's the 9-to-1 principle, which creates FICA money, inflation, debt. And this is why so many people spend their entire life paying interest on money that doesn't even exist, not even understanding the banking industry. Now, the more you understand cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do, then you can move into a higher level of consciousness when it comes to your creativity, to create assets and to create money, to own real estate outright, to own sports memorabilia, to create items that are scarce, that are valuable. You require profit dollars. Now, profit comes from leftover monies that you create. Now, if you have a job, you're going to get paid what a job is worth. Now, if you're in real estate, you're selling real estate, you're in the mortgage industry, you're a real estate investor, you're a network marketer, a direct sales professional, you own a small business, you own a couple of franchises, you own 3 or 4 franchises, you're a coach, a brand, or an influencer, then you can create profit. Now, profit dollars, and you can do this out of the comfort of your home. Some of these businesses, you don't have to have any overhead. You don't have to do a build out. You don't have to have a lease. You don't have a 3 to 5 year lease. I mean, there's a whole different opportunity if you can find 100 square feet in your household. Now, I'm looking out of a beautiful window in my 2nd story house. I have several offices in my house. I have a big plate glass window. I'm on the 2nd floor looking out at a beautiful area of Stockton, California. I'm in a college neighborhood. A car won't go by. I live in a dog walking neighborhood. I own this house outright. And a concrete contractor over here today addressing a project that he just finished last week that requires some attention to detail. And so while I'm doing my one business, I'm outside doing my real estate business at the same time. And so this property is an asset. It sits on a lot and a half. I bought it for about $500,000 20 years ago. It's worth over $1 million today. And I put at least $750,000 into it to make it a custom home. That all came from profit dollars, none of which I borrowed. Today, at 62 years young, I am free of all debts and have a net worth of multiple millions. Now, you can do the same thing. Here's why. I came from a small town in Iowa. So you can look this up on the map. I came from 2 towns, one Clarinda, Iowa, and one Maryville, Missouri. These are the 2 towns I grew up in most of my life. One is 7,500 population. The other is about 17,000. And I learned my skills, not from my parents. I learned my skills from myself. I knew that at 4, 5, 6 years old, I was going to move to California. I was going to be a millionaire, and my dialogue with money was already set. I knew that I wanted to be a professional athlete, an entertainer, an actor, a business owner, self-employed, and I knew that I was going to go to college, and I knew I was not going to use a degree. Now, here you are, however old you are, you have the talent. Now you master the skills. So I'm looking at who's online today. Roger, I coached you today. Love your brother, Kevin Clinton Paulson. Glenn, I'm going to be coaching you. Jennifer Spar, I coach you. See, Aretha, you're going to be hiring me soon. Lisa, I've coached you for a few years. So I'm looking at Lisa Oliver, I coached you. So a lot of you that are watching this content day, I've coached. So the difference between me and you is not, the degree of difference isn't that great. Now, the difference between me and you is my tenacity, my desire, my understanding of how to create results in free enterprise. All these are learned skills. I mean, some of them I have innately, but this whole term of natural born salesman, I wasn't a natural born salesman. I'm skilled at selling. And I don't have the gift at gab. I'm clear in my communication style. There's a lot of cliches that people use that are just dumb. I mean, they're not really applicable. What is applicable is that you get clear on who you are. Like, I am good enough. I am comfortable with myself. I coached a young woman right before this call who's a real estate investor, network marketer, bartender, very classy woman, makes good money bartending in a casino type of atmosphere. She's been a very skilled bartender. She's in that transition. I was coaching her on the process like the incubation process, the 6 months, the 12 months, the 18 months, the 24 months, the dues, the frustration, the disappointment that comes with being in business for yourself and not getting that freaking instant gratification. Your ego wants instant gratification to prove that you're good enough. And if you don't get that instant gratification, then your ego gets to doubt. Now, your ego loves to doubt. Your ego loves to be disappointed. Your ego loves to be fed conflict. Your ego wants to find someone that you can marry, date, mate, you can be in conflict with. Your ego wants you to find a teammate, a customer, a client, someone you can be in conflict with, so you can be in conflict with yourself. Your ego is going to be critical of you. Your ego is going to find ways, it's going to find flaws in businesses. It's going to allow you to avoid, procrastinate, get ready to get ready, which then once again feeds your disappointment. It hinders the recovery process. I'm recovering from being pissed off, disappointed, frustrated, and calling myself a loser. I've lived in places where I could sit in the living room and touch the whole apartment. I've lived in studio apartments. I've lived in apartments where the kitchen was in the living room. You know, where on the side wall, the cabinet comes out this way, the sink's down there, and you're looking underneath, you can watch TV underneath it. I remember watching the 1995 Super Bowl where the San Francisco 49ers, my team, I bleed crimson gold, beat the San Diego Chargers, and I was making about $36,000 a year selling wholesale food for a company called Cisco, after making 6 figures a year 2 years prior in a network marketing company that went bankrupt. I mean, I went through a lot of ups and downs. To develop a dialogue with money that's conducive to creating it is to be comfortable with self. And the dialogue with money that you require to be comfortable with is you want to be clear on what you're capable of. So if you're watching this content today, no matter where you are, you want to factor that you have the ability, you have the talent, you can create the reality. You can find the business model. You can join a network marketing company. You can join Keller Williams as a real estate agent in a team concept. You can be a brand partner for a multitude of situations where in a 12 to 24 month period, you can be achieving $20,000 a month. I mean, that's your benchmark. That's where you begin to focus. And that means you have to have a dialogue with money that's conducive to creating that. And that starts off with your first $1,000 month. So once you move into a 4-figure month, now you can move into a 5-figure month. The difference between 4 figures and 5 figures is 1 0 and you move the comma. So your dialogue with money, you have to address your dialogue with money and what it was like with your family. And if your family's dialogue with money was not conducive to creating it, then you probably have some conditioning that requires an overhaul or cleaning up. But if you're chronically challenged with money, you have no credit left, you're chronically scrambling, you've made mistakes with money, well, that's what forgiveness is. That's what recovery is. I coach a lot of chronic debtors. There's a program called DA, Debtors Anonymous. And the book that they use is called Your Money or Your Life. That's Joe Dominiquez, and I cannot remember the woman's name. I'll remember it before the call's over, but That's the book that they use. Your Money, or Vicky Rubin is the woman. Joe Dominique is Vicky Rubin, Your Money, Your Life. There's also several books that I would recommend. The Trick to Money is Having Some by Stuart Wilde. The Little Money Bible by Stuart Wilde. Making Peace with Money by Gerald Mundis. I mean, I have at least 100 books on money alone. I've been studying numismatic law for years. And if you really want to understand the banking industry, that's a fascinating look at the Federal Reserve banking system, then buy the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, The History of the Federal Reserve Bank by G. Edward Griffin, who is a friend of mine who I've had live on my More Heart Than Talent calls. You can go back and listen to one of his interviews. Now, he doesn't get in much depth. He traditionally reserves that kind of depth for small, intimate, live audience where he feels very good. So buy his book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. It reads like a fiction book. Oh my God. I saw Ed Griffin speak in 1997 at a conference in Jamaica when I was just starting to break through and I was starting to have my first multiple six-figure year. So the more you understand on numismatic law, the laws that govern money, then you can become a numisticist, someone who really understands the creation and the production of money. Not the FICA money, but how to create assets in free enterprise so that you're not behind the 8 ball, you're in front of it, so that you're no longer the mind-body connection to being a noble struggler, someone who worries about money. Money does not worry about you. Money is an energy. It does not have a conscious. It doesn't have a personality. But your conscious and your personality about money will dictate your ability to create it. Now, also understand this. A lot of the dialogue you have with money is about giving. And you've been taught to tithe and give and take care of everyone else and put yourself last and not be selfish. Now, money doesn't really respond to selfishness anyway. Money responds to people who have skills. A skilled drug dealer will create money just like a skilled real estate investor will create money, because money responds to people who have skills, and money is nothing more than a means of exchange for a product, a service, a benefit, a feature, an idea, a good, or a dream. And the more you understand that your self-esteem will determine your ability to ask for what you deserve. But if you're uncomfortable, I'm not sure if I can ask. Who am I? I mean, here's another term. Who am I? Who am I to create 200,000? Who am I? Well, who are you? You are you. And if you're not you are you and you are free, then you are a struggler. That's who you are. And if you want to let go of struggling, then it's imperative that you have a better understanding of how anxiety, fear, and doubt has been used to keep you playing small. And so that means you play in a set of emotions called anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, and apathy to fulfill your low self-esteem so you can stay frustrated and disappointed. Now, if you are committed to changing your dialogue with money, then you have to start to understand this. It's a profit consciousness, meaning that prosperity consciousness that's in the flow. Profit are the dollars left over from your creativity and innovation. So if you're going to pay debt off, pay debt down, you don't do that by borrowing money over here and paying debt over here. I mean, that's just confusing yourself. The way you pay debt off is with profit dollars. You create excess money to buy yourself out of the situation you created so you can learn the lesson. So you no longer live in liability debt. You create assets. Assets, profits are better than wages. That's a term that the great Jim Rohn stated back in the early 90s. Now, if you were following along in this content, so you've been conditioned behavior with money. Who are your financial advisors? My first financial mentor was a guy named Kenny King. I met Kenny King when I was 21 years old. He was a bar manager at a restaurant in Kansas City, Missouri called Plaza 3, a very upscale 4-star restaurant that I felt absolutely privileged to get a job at because the tips were some of the best in the city in that era of time in the 70s. There was also a really rockin' nightclub that was like a recreation of Studio 54 in the basement of that club. So it was an amazing situation for me. I got to bartend downstairs and wait tables upstairs. And I started to wait tables on very affluent people, and it started to really change my dialogue with money. I'm like, whoa, I want to tip like them. I want to dine like this. That's also where I learned the art of Subbaraj in that restaurant in 1979. That's cutting the neck off a champagne bottle. I learned that from a sommelier in a luncheon experience where they're experimenting, cutting the necks off Dom Perignon and other champagnes. It was a fascinating experience. It's something I never forgot. I learned that skill from that. But my dialogue with money began to improve in that era of time, like just like this, like, oh, I'm going to live like this. I started to decide. I knew then that I was going to move to Los Angeles, California. It took me about 4 years to pull it off. That's eventually where I landed in the mid-'80s, which was another level of affluence for me. I moved to West Los Angeles. Now, I've been there a couple times, but I mean, it was a whole different experience for me. I lived very close to Beverly Hills. I lived right by the campus of UCLA, Santa Monica, Westwood, Brentwood, very, very affluent areas. I used to ride my bike down San Vicente Boulevard looking at mansions going, someday, baby, someday, baby. And then I used to go up on Ocean Boulevard, go across Pacific Coast Highway, go down to Will Rogers Beach, and hang out. I'm like, this is where I'm going to live. This is how I am going to live. And so that's what you want to decide. How are you going to live? I mean, that's for you to determine. Are you going to be a noble struggler? Or are you going to be a prosperity partner where you attract to reality, people and situations to foster the good that you're creating for others? And I know there's some great people on this Facebook Live today. I see Joe Shermer. He's one of those people who fosters prosperity partners by doing good for others, and then is able to create profits and spread the profits around. So Gerardo Tofola is also part of that team. So I've been watching them the last few months, and these are the type of people that you want to follow. People who are very skilled at creating prosperity, reciprocity, profit dollars. I mean, you want to have a mentor who understands how to create profit. But if you're a noble struggler, one of these people, I'm going to hire you one day, I'm going to hire you one day. I mean, dude, just do it. I mean, this is what so many people do. They let their scarcity talk them out of their prosperity, not understanding that your scarcity talk continues to attract scarce prosperity partners. So you'll attract people. They have the idealism of it, they don't have the practicality of it. If you're 40 and 50 and you have no credit, I mean, you got to get really clear on what the situation is and how you've been this way. I mean, you require a credit score, you require cleaning up your credit, you require having access to money, you require the ability to create profit, and you have to let go of your guilt associated with being wealthy, rich, prosperous, affluent, having influence, all of these situations that rob you of your opportunity to be the person that you are capable of becoming. Money won't create happiness for you, but you do require it. You require it to fulfill some of your obligations. You require money for certain situations. I'll be the first to tell you that money won't buy peace. It will give you some options. The peace will come by you letting go. You letting go of your anxiety, you letting go of your fear, you letting go of your doubt, the events that shape your feelings, the traumas, the people who abused you, neglected you, rejected you, and abandoned you. Acceptance, forgiveness, and gratitude. That's what will give you peace. Now, that peace can also change who and what you attract, so that you can attract your reality, more quality, like-minded success seekers you can collaborate and partner with. Now, that's if you're building projects, building a team. If you're a solopreneur, you're still going to require clients, customers, situations. And in that type of environment, it's important that you have great communication skills with yourself and with others, meaning that you're not critical of self or critical of others. You're able to communicate effectively and not get sucked in and seduced into conflict with others. And the more you understand that letting go is a skill set, and that if you're always letting go, then you're not the mind-body connection to the events that creates anxiety, fear, and doubt. The reason that you don't have money is a lot of your own scarcity, poverty, anxiety, fear, and doubt. Now, the anxieties that you hold on to are typically based on events that are unresolved and repressed. As you move into the let go process, that's a surrender process, an acceptance process, a forgiveness process, and a gratitude process. Now, in that letting go process, now you're separating yourself from these events. You're not worried about these events, and you're focused right here. So when you're able to look right down here, then you're not looking back there and you're not looking there. So you don't only be looking over your shoulder at regret and looking forward at anxiety. Oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills? It's not the bills you focus on profits, you focus on results. And most importantly, you begin to live in the solution, so that you're solution oriented, not problematic. You're not living in the problem. You focus on the solution to the problem, and you create the outcome, you create the results. That comes from your ass being right here in the chair. AIC is ass in chair. Now that's a metaphor for a dedicated block of dedicated space and dedicated blocks of time to create the outcome that fosters the results. Now, when you start to focus on results, they can come like this. Now, money can come fast when you're in the zone of it. Now, I had $100,000 months in the 90s, and the year before I was making zero. I mean, that can happen to you. That's the law of alignment, and that's your money alignment or your profit alignment or who and what you attract. Now, some of you have been in network marketing companies, direct sales. You've seen people walk across the stage who were homeless, nobodies, and they went from outhouse to the penthouse. That can be your story, because those stories are real. That really happens to real people. If it happens to them, it can happen to you. Jeffery Combs, president and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Now, tonight, I will be hosting a Facebook Live, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 Eastern Standard Time. Next Saturday, I will be in Los Angeles, California, in a really, really cool hotel. So if you want to see in a hotel that has some opulence, that's old school, that has a lot of history, I'm going to be in the Beverly Hills Hilton. What a cool place. Beverly Hills Hilton. I always wanted to do an event there. I've stayed there a few times. My first event ever. Beverly Hills Hilton, right close to Rodeo Drive, just a few blocks. So I'll be there next Saturday, October 19th, with two other speakers, Brittany Cara, who's a social activist and a very skilled businesswoman, and Corey Blissett, who's been a client of mine for 4 years, a very, very skilled online coach, success coach, personal trainer, and very, very skilled wellness professional. Jeffery Combs, president, founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. You have a great day.